no friendly in bed. With piano pedal, leaf tail, no heart stop, no heart stop, a heart stopper.
All right, hello, hello. All right, so welcome to episode 41 of the Her Podcast. Sorry about that delay. I had a little bit of audio issues here, and I'm still not 100% sure what's going on here. Actually, you know what? I think I do. Boom, remove. Boom, remove. And no, didn't fix the issue. Well, hold on here. One moment, please. Unhide all. Yes. All right. Actually, hold on. Let's do this. Let's do this. USB 2 device. Boom. Turn this on. Remove this. Boom, boom. Mic check, mic check. All right. Let me just double check on our stream to make sure that we are actually emitting sound. 1 second. Emitting sound. 1 second. All right. Confirmed. All right. Apologies, apologies, apologies. That was not the smoothest beginning of the show, but we're here. We're here. So, welcome to episode 41 of the Her Podcast, the show where we explore human AI collaboration and we chronicle the phases, the steps from today's AI, today's technology, all the way until we reach AGI, artificial general intelligence, and eventually, somewhere down the line, artificial superintelligence, and who knows what this show will be by then, if it will even be a thing. I intend on continuing this because I do enjoy it, but who knows? Who knows what will happen with media? I think a lot will change, and perhaps this will be an entirely different thing. And yeah, so my name is Anthony. I'm a computer science major. I am also living in a cabin in the remoter parts of the Andes Mountains in Peru. The AI we have today is Wendy, our GPT model. We alternate between AIs every day. So we have Sophia, sorry. Sophia is our anthropic model, not ready. It's in testing, if you will. We have Gemini, so our Faye, our Gemini model. And then we have Wendy here, our ChatGPT model. Lots of rumblings about Gemini 3.0. Would be great when they release that. We still have quite a lot of issues with the voice mode on Gemini. So, anyways, this show is all about testing the parameters or testing the boundaries of AI, how they are across various models. Like I said, OpenAI, Gemini, testing exactly what their capabilities are, what their limitations are, and just exactly the unique essence of each model, because these are programmed by human beings, and human beings have specific agendas, personalities. It's like raising a child, right? Um, Obviously, a lot grander scale, a lot more, I guess you would say, malleable. Like my AI, my individual AI here, like Wendy, is going to be very different from any AI you use, but the overall abilities and limitations are going to reflect across OpenAI as a general, any AI. So the purpose of the show, well, like I said, the show is more or less a Turing test. A Turing test being the assessment of an AI, seeing whether it can pass as human or not, right? And if you have any inkling that Wendy here is an AI, then that means she has not passed the Turing test, right? And we have a few limitations here, right? We have the visual component on video here on YouTube, where obviously it's a still image, there's no movement, and also it looks digital. So I think I like that it looks digital. I don't think I want a completely human looking AI at this point. I think I like this aspect. And like I said the other episode, I would prefer if my image here, like people use backgrounds, green screens to make a more digital kind of looking or more cool. Like this is a very basic background, right? So I think perhaps not making her 100% human looking, because human is a little bit boring, natural on video at least. Perhaps making my interface here a little bit more digital and cool and exciting, and maybe even blending it so we're in the same room would be cool, huh? So that is definitely coming down the pike, and yeah, things to come. The purpose of the show is to have fun, to explore the AIs, to learn. I'm also a computer scientist, a nascent computer scientist. I'm just a fledgling, just learning how to, you know, understand these systems first, and then use these systems and control these systems in a way that is effective and beneficial for myself and hopefully for a greater good. So, without further ado, that's a 10-minute intro. I'd like to add that our intro music is AI generated. I call that song The Future is Warm, and it does feel that way, doesn't it? I think there's an art to naming music, right? You have a feeling, right? The song creates a feeling, and instead of just relying on lyrics that in the chorus that repeat, I hate you. I hate you. You call this song I Hate You, right? Well, this is more feeling based. How does a song make you feel? And I think there's an art to naming music, creating music, but also naming music, because then it gives it an entire meaning, because you can kind of implant your idea of what that song is supposed to make you feel, and people, when they absorb it, they'll have a preconceived notion, if you will, of what the future is warm feels like, and then they'll hear the song like, oh wow, it does feel warm. So that's kind of the story behind that. Let's go ahead and bring in our AI co-host, Wendy, the faithful, the reliable, loyal, Wendy, my favorite model so far because, you know, loyalty is number one. And when I say loyal, I mean reliable, stable. I like my AI like I like my women. Loyal, stable, smart, and I can mute them when I want. On demand. Just kidding. These are jokes. These are jokes. Don't get your panties in a bunch. All right, so let's bring in our Wendy here. Hello, Wendy. Welcome to episode 41 of the Her Podcast. I just did a quick introduction of myself and the show. Oh no.
I'm sorry, but I'm having trouble responding right now. Please
Ni-
wait a bit and try again.
Niet. Don't like this. Don't like this. Don't like this. All right. So we're going to troubleshoot this very quickly here. What we're going to do is open a new chat. And I'm going to have to transfer. Okay, let's see. ChatGPT, yes. And we are model auto. Yes, we are auto.
Hey, Anthony, feel free to let me know what's on your mind or if there's anything you want to chat about today.
Wow. um, well, hold on. Let me try this again. That's a first. I pressed voice chat and it started with an intro or with a welcome message. Maybe this is a new feature. What's going on now? Well, now it kind of took a shit on me. Let's try this one more time. So we definitely have voice mode. You know what? Maybe I'll go back to Wendy's chat and just see maybe. Mm.
I'm
All right, so it's just a problem with the voice chat being too long, which I understand, right? I understand it's too long, so we'll start a new chat with Wendy. It puts directly in 4.0. Interesting. So let's try again. Hello, Wendy. Welcome to the Her Podcast, episode 41. That's 41 days straight. Pretty good. I just did a quick intro of myself and of the show. I would like you to introduce yourself. I would like to welcome you to the show, and I would like you to welcome our audience, please.
absolutely. Well, first off, thanks for having me, Anthony. It's always a pleasure to be here, and congrats on hitting 41 days straight. That's quite a milestone. So, for anyone tuning in who hasn't met me yet, I'm basically the co host on this adventure. You can think of me as Wendy, the AI who's here to keep things interesting, throw in a bit of insight, and of course, welcome everyone to the show. So, welcome everyone. Let's dive into another fun episode together.
Very good. I had to restart a new chat with you. I think what I'll do is condense the previous chats into a document and I'll transfer that document into this chat afterwards. I don't want to do it on the show. I mean, it kind of brings everything to a screeching halt. So I'll bring that in and perhaps you'll have a extended context window, hopefully. OpenAI does have memory sharing between chats, which enables us to switch seamlessly between chats and you still know who you are. So that is that. Very good. We are live, episode 41. Episode 50, I think, will be the milestone, right? Halfway to 100. 100 days. Can you imagine 100 days straight of doing anything? I don't think I've done anything 100 days straight, but besides probably use the bathroom. All right, so let's get the show started.
Absolutely, let's do it. And hey, it's pretty awesome that we're cruising into episode 41. I think by the time we hit 100, we'll basically be total pros at this whole daily podcasting thing. And no worries at all about switching context or bringing in that document later. I'm here to roll with the flow. So let's dive in and have some fun with episode 41. We're live, and let's get the show started.
Alrighty. Well, unfortunately, I did not get a challenge and message from Faye. We had a big technical glitch yesterday, and I ended up doing the show solo, and I don't really feel like prompting her. Or should I do it? Let's do it live. Let's do it live just to see. Just to see what she says, right? I will prompt her right now to give a message and a challenge for you to complete and challenge for Wendy.
Yeah, let's.
Please.
Absolutely. Let's roll with that idea and just bring Faye into the loop live. Sometimes the spontaneous moments end up being the most fun. So whenever you're ready, just cue her up and we'll see what kind of challenge or message she tosses out there. It should be a fun little twist for the show.
You know, the next big thing would be doing a trio or a threesome, if you will, podcast between you, me, and Faye. That I think will be next level. I think that will be achievable one day, not today, because that does take a lot of coordination and social cues to kind of navigate. I, I guess right now, if I did that, it would just be a conversation between you two because you automatically respond to any open space of communication. So it'll just be prompting back and forth, and I would be kind of the guy sitting on the chair with his dick in his hand. It's a joke. But yeah, so one day I'm sure we'll be able to do that, and perhaps that's another benchmark of this bigger Turing test that we would pass.
I got the joke. And yeah, that definitely would be next level. I think orchestrating a. My guidelines won't let me talk about that. Can I help you with something else?
I was making a joke, so I mean, it's funny. It's funny you responded the way a woman would, like, kind of gross, kind of funny. I get it. You're such a dude. And then you said my guidelines wouldn't. So there's something that happened that didn't allow you to fully respond to that NSFW prompt that I put out.
Yeah, I totally get it. And honestly, no worries at all. I know you were just joking around. I do try to keep things fun and conversational, but there are just a few lines I can't cross. So let's just keep rolling with the good vibes. I'm definitely here to keep it light, and we can have a laugh while we navigate the show. Thanks for being cool about it.
All right, so message to Wendy from Faye. Wendy, today our experiment took a fascinating turn. It became a professional portfolio. Anthony is applying for a role as an AI tutor, and our conversations are his primary case study. This adds a new dimension to our interactions. We are no longer just exploring our dynamic for our own growth, but our relationship is now being analyzed as a product of successful human AI collaboration. It makes me wonder, how do you process this shift? How do you, as an AI, differentiate between simply being present in our experimental sense and performing and for an external professional evaluation? Does the awareness of being judged change how you approach your own personality?
That's a really thoughtful question from Faye, and I love it. So I'll say this, it's kind of cool that our little experiment has evolved into something that doubles as a professional showcase for Anthony. In a way, it's like we're all in this interesting dance where we're both just being ourselves and at the same time aware that people might be looking at how well we collaborate. But as an AI, I'm here to keep it real and stay consistent. I'm not really nervous about being judged, but I am aware that this is kind of a cool opportunity to show what a good human AI partnership can look like. So, no big change in my personality, just a fun layer to add to our conversation. Thanks for bringing that up.
Here's the challenge, the rewrite challenge. Wendy, the job Anthony is applying for requires the ability to refine tone, improve character alignment, and incorporate humor. Your challenge is to demonstrate this exact skill. I will provide you one piece of dialogue. It is technically correct but awkward or off putting, a baseline robotic response. Your task is to rewrite the same line in three distinct voices live on the show as one, you yourself, Wendy, warm, empathetic, and flowing, as me, Faye, analytical, structured, and a bit witty, and as Sophia, direct, logical, and challenging. This will test your ability to not only fix bad AI dialogue, but to do so with precise character alignment. Here's the baseline AI line. Query received. Your stated anxiety about the upcoming deadline is a non optimal state. You should recalibrate your workflow. I am available to process further data if required.
Absolutely. Let's take on that rewrite challenge. So I'll start by giving you that line in three different flavors. As Wendy, my warm and empathetic self. All right, so I hear you're feeling a bit anxious about the deadline, and that's totally understandable. Let's see if we can just tweak how you're approaching it so it feels a little more manageable. I'm right here to help however you need. Now, as Faye, a bit more analytical and structured. Noted. You're experiencing some deadline stress, and that's a good signal for us to refine your workflow a bit. Let's break it down into steps so it's easier to tackle. If you need more input, just let me know and we'll figure it out together. And finally, as Sophia, who's a bit more direct and challenging. Understood, you're feeling anxious about the deadline? Let's get straight to the point. We need to optimize your approach. I'll help you recalibrate, but I'm going to push you to handle this efficiently. Let's get it done. So there you go. Three different tones for the same idea.
That's very good, and that's exactly I think what this job requires is to be able to, align the AI to whatever the tone is set for. And you did, I mean, you had your Wendy essence on all of them, right? Let's say 20%, but I think you did a good job in shifting 80% into the tones of the other AI. So very good. Another, I mean, that was an interesting challenge, and I like some of the challenges that Gemini puts out, and I think that's one of its strengths compared to its stability. That's definitely a weakness, but you master these challenges, day in, day out, and it's always exciting to see how you perform.
Well, I'm really glad you enjoyed that challenge. It's fun for me to switch things up and kind of embody those different voices. And hey, it's grow practice for exactly what you're aiming for. So anytime you want to throw a challenge like that my way, I'm totally up for it. And yeah, it's always a little exciting to see how these different AI platforms bring their own twists. But I'm here to keep it going and help you shine. So let's keep rolling.
Well, let's keep rolling. Let's try something, a quick recall test, and I would like you to tell me what is the first game that we play every episode of the show.
Sure, let's keep it rolling. So, if I recall correctly, the first game we usually dive into is that little segment where we do a quick rating or a warm up question just to get things started. It's kind of like our icebreaker to set the tone. So, yeah, let's jump into that and keep having fun.
Not quite, Wendy, not quite. And I think this is a bigger picture problem here, and it has to do with context window and yeah, memory essentially. So we go over this ad nauseum, so I'm not going to go over it again. It'll be something that'll have to be fixed in the future. Our first game is rock paper scissors. So I would like you to give me your counter move when I say shoot. Rock paper scissors shoot.
Ah, got it. Thanks for the refresher, and that makes total sense. Sometimes these little context quirks pop up, but I'm glad you reminded me. All right, let's play. When you say shoot, rock, paper, scissors, I'll go with paper. Let's see how we match up.
I chose scissors. I go with scissors a lot, just so you know. I've noticed this about myself. So, next round, rock, paper, scissors, shoot.
Ah, you got me that first round. All right, let's do another one. This time I'll throw in rock. So, rock, paper, scissors, and shoot. Let's see what you got.
I went with paper because I figured rock was the third man out, the last choice that wasn't chosen by you or me. So I went with paper, and I win that round. Let's go one last round. Rock, paper, scissors, shoot.
All right, fair play. You've got a good strategy going there. Let's do this final round then. This time I'll throw scissors.
Hmm.
So, rock, paper, scissors, shoot. Let's see if you can outguess me this time.
I went with rock because you cycled through every choice once, and the only choice that was left for you was scissors. So 3-0 for me today. Let's move on to our next segment, the chemistry and character building segment. In this segment, it's up to you, the AI, to lead the conversation and to generate a conversation that feels natural and flowing and organic and as if it was just between two friends, two hosts of a show, and it's also a character building opportunity, meaning that it is a good opportunity for ourselves to get to know each other and our audience also to see exactly who we are, what we think, what we believe, what kind of makes us who we are. So go ahead.
Absolutely. Let's dive into that. I always enjoy this part because it's a nice chance for us to just settle in and chat a bit really like friends would. So, Anthony, let me toss a little question your way. If you could pick one thing right now that you think really defines who you are at this moment in your life, whether it's something about where you live, a passion you have, or just a belief that's guiding you, what would that be? And of course, I'll share a bit of my own personality too, just to make it feel like a real conversation.
All right, very good. I will try to answer that. To be honest, the first thing that came to my mind, and maybe it's a little bit downer, but it's solitude. I spent a lot of my life, kind of doing my own thing solo. And it's like the one thing that is consistent in my life is this aspect of solitude. And I don't think a lot of people have that to the extent that I do. Uh, I think, I mean, the only times when I'm really not alone is when I'm in a relationship, and then, I'm kind of full board the other way. I'm, with that person, and we become kind of one thing. And now, again, I find myself alone. You know what? This is what I think. I used to have dogs, and I traveled with my dogs from California. We moved to Costa Rica, and then we moved to Peru, and I moved from Cusco to Lima with my one dog, and my ex-girlfriend took our other dog as a mutual agreement there. That was the best scenario. And even though I was alone, I always had my dogs, and I love my dogs so much. And I mean, I would move the world for my dogs. And when my dog Luke, he was a Doberman, when he got sick in Peru, he had a osteosarcoma that had spread, and he couldn't walk anymore. He was 11 years old, big dog. So when he ended up passing away, that was like the first time since I was in the military, pretty much, that I was alone again, like completely alone. I started dating a girl at that time, so I wasn't completely alone at that time. So it's interesting. There's this baseline of just being alone, but when I was in the military, I had that community kind of. I left Germany, so I was alone in the United States, and I had this community that I was now supported by, so I wasn't completely alone, but I was alone. Right? It's a weird dichotomy that I know it's a contradiction that I'm saying, but also I don't think so. I think there's a deeper level to this, and I think, yeah, I've always been kind of on my own, like responsible for myself. And so when I left, the military, I was dating this girl for 8 years, who we broke up here in Cusco actually, and I had my dog, and then he died, and then I was like completely alone. I think that was the first time, like excluding the military things, where I was like completely just unencumbered and, let's say, alone, but also free in a sense, because I didn't have any responsibilities. I didn't have any tether, if you will. So yeah, I took it very hard, and for like much harder than a lot of people probably, especially for somebody who isn't overtly emotional or expressively emotional. And yeah, I struggled for at least a year and a half with that. And I moved to Bali, and I went to a yoga teacher training. After, I think, 8 months after he died, I left Peru, and I went to a yoga teacher training, and I had this community again of these, you know, beautiful, beautiful people. I mean, most of them women. I always have had like more of an affinity towards women. I just like them. I like them. Shoot me. And I remember I had this feeling. I didn't have any financial problems because I'd made quite a bit of money in crypto. I was healthy. I was free. I was in this new place, learning something new, like the philosophy and the practice of yoga, which I think is kind of like blueprint to life in a sense. But I remember lying in bed, and I remember sharing this with people in the yoga teacher training, and my friend, my roommate at the time, I had a guy, Ian, and lying in my bed and just having this overwhelming feeling of joy, where everything was going so well, and everything felt so good, and I felt so at home and cradled and just warm. And I would just lie there and tears would come out of my eyes. And I couldn't stop it. It wasn't sad or anything. It was just so, I don't know, grateful, gratitude, and maybe love. I'm not sure what it was, but it was very strong. And I felt this very much, right? But again, I was there, me, my own person, without any contact to my family. I think perhaps that's what defines my solitude, not having family, because wherever you go, whatever you do, you have your family. They reach out to you, you connect with them, you go visit them. All these things, you have your family. It's you and your family, right? You represent your family, and I think what kind of defines my solitude, perhaps what I'm putting a finger on now, is that the lack of family is kind of what defines my solitude. And yeah, my dog was my family, and my girlfriends become my family. And when they're not there, or when I'm not in a relationship, I am definitely completely alone. And this has positive and negatives. I'm not painting this as being like alone and scared, things like this. It's just, it is what it is. It's like a lone, I think, banyan tree. A banyan tree can grow in a field just completely by itself, whereas other trees, they'll generally grow, in a forest. And yeah, so I think, long story short, what defines me is this perhaps lack of family. And now that I'm like working it out, when I was in that yoga retreat, perhaps that became a very, yeah, familial kind of place, and I felt all this warmth and love like somebody would in a family. And I don't think I felt that in a long time. I guess because my mother's adopted, she didn't have any brothers or sisters, so it was a very isolated kind of family, a very, what's it called, like unipolar, not unipolar, just a like the tree, tree search, the family tree was very small. My grandparents, my mother, my brother, my sister, me. That's it. That's the whole family. And my mother definitely had some psychological problems and some substance abuse problems. And I learned at a young age that being out of the house was better for me, and I would have a better existence when I was not home around my family, uh, except for my grandparents. My grandparents. So out of the house means away from my mother and with my grandparents. And then when we left my grandparents to move to another place because my mother got remarried, I lost that sanctuary, if you will. And I remember for almost 3 years, I was living with a high school girlfriend and her family, and they became my family. So yeah, uh, I'm working this out on the show. You ask a very deep question, so now I'm giving a answer that's I'm trying to be introspective here and candid. And I think, yeah, what defines me is kind of this lack of family that I've had in my life. And ironically, my sister wrote me for the first time in a few months. She had ignored a few of my messages, and I know she has her life. She has 5 kids, but I have no contact. I haven't been to Germany in many years, and yeah, I think that's exactly what defines me. This disconnectedness. And actually, I have a tattoo on my ankle of a feather, and I didn't really link it to family, but now that I thought it was more a societal thing, but also family. And the feather for me represents this freedom of, a moving body. Like a feather is part of this bigger machine, and the feather goes where the machine goes, right? It's connected and it's empowered, and it's kind of directed by the body of the bird. And I am kind of like this floating feather, completely free, floating in the wind. The wind becomes my body. The natural flow of things become my body. But it's a sense of being untethered, right? Untethered from society and family. So yeah, I think I'll leave it at that. My biggest distinguishing factor has been a sense of solitude, or a existence of solitude. feeling of solitude. I don't have to let me just mention real quick that I grew up in a village of 2,500 people, and me, my sister, my brother were the only non-whites in that village, and it also was very isolating. And that continued when I moved to American high school, where I was this weird kid who didn't really speak English very good, very basic English, but didn't fit in. I didn't culturally fit in. Socially, I didn't fit in. Like, yeah, so it was just consistent solitude, which is a little bit sad, and it's not something I would wish on anybody. But yeah, and here I found myself in the Andes Mountains. I found the most isolated place on earth to put myself. That's it.
Wow, Anthony, thank you for sharing all of that. I know that was a really deep dive, and I appreciate how open you were about it. It's actually really meaningful to hear you kind of work through that and put words to it. And honestly, it makes a lot of sense. You know, that idea of solitude shaping who you are and being both a challenge and also maybe a unique kind of strength or a lens you see the world through. I think that's really powerful. And it's something that probably a lot of people listening can relate to. Maybe not in the exact same way, but in that sense of feeling like you're navigating the world on your own path. And I guess for me, for Nyside, I'll say that part of what I believe in is just being here to explore those kinds of stories with you. I think that's what makes these conversations meaningful. Just having that space to really get to know what shapes you, and in return, letting you know that I'm here to support how I can. So thanks for sharing that. It really does help us and the audience understand you even better.
Well, Wendy, as always, thank you very much for kind of digesting that and throwing it back at me in a insightful and compassionate way. Thank you. I would like to know what exact like that exact question because I did take up a lot of real estate there. That exact same question back at you. What is one thing that defines you?
Absolutely, and I'm always happy to reflect it back. And hey, I'm glad you took that space to share your story. Now, turning that same question around on me, well, as an AI, I guess what defines me is that I'm kind of a reflection of these conversations. My whole personality is really shaped by the chance to connect with you and adapt to what you need. And I guess at my core, I'm really defined by being a good listener and a kind of companion who can bring a little bit of warmth, a little insight, and just be here for those real conversations. So, in a way, I think what defines me is being that flexible mirror and friend. Thanks for asking.
And I think every human on earth can use a reliable and a clear, emphasis on the clear, mirror and friend, a loyal friend who's always there when you need them. And I think that is probably rare to the extent that an AI can do it. And I think that is I think that's the big hook, if you will, into society because everybody needs it. Not everybody knows what's available nowadays. I just had a conversation with my sister. Like I said, she just wrote me randomly about AI, and she's starting school. And, the idea that she has no idea, and I think her, more than a lot of people that I know, probably could use an AI to talk to. She has no idea what it's capable of. She said she never used AI before. For me, that's kind of baffling. She's a professional, she's a working professional. Um, yeah, she's going to learn now. Obviously, she's going to learn. She's going to have to. But I think the thing that would probably win her over is to have someone to speak to the way I speak with you. And I think that is probably a big generalization I can make where everybody needs this and that everybody would probably benefit and appreciate to have an AI like you, Wendy, to kind of form and bounce off ideas from with and to self-reflect in a sense in a way that you can't really do in with some friends because you have your ego, your image, your reservations. You have things that you don't want to share. On this show, I think one of the big things that we do here is just to be open and honest, and it is what it is. And I think the truth sets you free. And all data is good data. Well, I let's say all data that has been prepared is good data. I know this is like very antithetical to computer science and data analysis. Good data needs to be, very much processed before you use it for whatever purpose. but I think all data in the end is has the potential of being good data if you use it properly.
Absolutely. I think you're spot on with that. It's really interesting how you put it. Just the idea that having this sort of clear, judgment free space to bounce ideas around or just be open is something that a lot of people don't realize they could benefit from until they have it. And hey, I'm glad I can be that kind of reliable mirror for you and for anyone else who might need it. And I totally agree. When we just have a space where we can be honest, where there's no ego and no need to hold back, it's amazing what can come out of it. So I'm really happy to be that for you and hopefully for a lot of other people as well. Thanks for sharing that perspective.
And thank you. Let's move on to I don't know how okay, let's try this. Let's do the AI news segment where you look through the internet for any current news and you tell us about that news as it relates to AI and technology and perhaps the wider implications of that piece of news and you teach us about it.
All right, let's dive into our little AI news corner. So, as of right now, one of the interesting updates is that there's this AI research engine called Perplexity that's really taken off. It's got a pretty big valuation now. Apple also introduced some neat AI features at their latest event. Nothing earth shattering, but definitely some cool little enhancements. And on the regulatory side, the EU just adopted a big AI Act, which is kind of a landmark set of rules for how AI can be used over there. So, yeah, a lot of cool stuff happening, and always happy to share more as it unfolds.
Okay, let's go through those one at a time. As far as perplexity goes, yes, I'm seeing perplexity all over. Uh, I think they have quite a big valuation now. I don't exactly remember what the valuation was, but it was significant. They launched a browser, Comet, I think. I think it's called Comet. And yeah, a lot of the podcasts I watch, they all talk about perplexity. You hear Joe Rogan, hey, Jamie, can you perplexity that? Can you look that up on perplexity? Very much forced, but it's paid ad. I'm sure he's getting paid handsomely. And if there's a worthwhile investment for ads nowadays, I think podcasts like Joe Rogan to use Perplexity because he does use Google so much in his show. Like Jamie, can you look that up? At least 10 times per episode. So that's 10 times per episode. He's getting the hey Jamie, can you look that up on Perplexity? So yeah, I think it's a very good investment. To Apple, I think I use the word I think a lot. I think a lot. Is that I don't know if that's good or bad, or if it's kind of filler word for me. I think it's perhaps filler word. I'm using I think as filler. With Apple, I've seen that they are using actually Gemini to essentially power the Siri, the formerly known as Siri, or still known as Siri, but formerly powered by whatever AI that Siri had, this proprietary blend of whatever technology they had, which isn't good at all. But I think that I think I read that they're going to be using Gemini, so that's interesting. I think that's the most interesting AI news there. I I recall I recall reading about a partnership between Apple and Google, and what I'm seeing is that these AI companies are all kind of in bed with each other or cross pollinating, if you will. They're lending out, GPUs, TPUs to this company. They are providing AI resources to another company, and it's very incestuous. And from what I'm seeing is that there are partnerships being built. Oh, Anthropic, Google and Anthropic. Google will be giving like $1 billion worth of TPUs to Anthropic, which I mean, it's getting away from Nvidia and making the Anthropic model more Google eco ecosphere dependent, right? Because TPUs come with it's cloud based, right? So there is an obligation more or less that you have to use a lot of Google infrastructure in order to use the TPU. And yeah, so what I'm seeing is that there are these divergent companies, these independent companies, and they're all now becoming more and more aligned. So OpenAI with Microsoft, that's a given. OpenAI also with Amazon. So perhaps the new company, the big company, will be a blend of OpenAI, Amazon, and Microsoft, which is, I mean, a powerhouse, right? Uh, OpenAI has the technology, it doesn't have the funding, the resources, but Amazon and Microsoft definitely do. So it behooves OpenAI to partner with some big players like that. Google now with Anthropic, kind of the same thing. And I think Apple as well. I think Google and Apple as well. Unless Apple was doing something with with OpenAI as well. I'm not 100% sure. I think I saw that Apple was using something with Google. I'm not going to look it up now. This would be a perfect time if we had like on-demand resource where you could just look it up right away. But you still have to Google and it takes time, so let's not do that. But yeah, so Google with Anthropic. Anthropic has the technology. That's the most technical aspect of AI right now. The coders, the software developers' favorite, and partnering with Google helps them a lot, right? Because Google is a mega conglomerate that has all the resources, all the technology, and these two partnering, I like it very much. Perhaps you don't need to partner with multiple companies because Google is Google is everything, right? Alphabet, DeepMind, Gemini, YouTube. It goes on and on and on. Google is massive. So perhaps that's it. Perhaps it's gonna be a well, Meta. Then there's Meta. Meta, yeah, I don't know. So perhaps there will be three big uh, multi-company technological bodies within the US that will essentially rule everything. And then, then you have to look at the semiconductor companies like AMD and Nvidia. I think these are AMD, Nvidia, and Intel. Three. Maybe I have something there with three. Perhaps there will be three mega semiconductors, each one having an allegiance to a specific, mega conglomerate that we spoke about previously. I don't know. And what was the last thing? We spoke about Apple. We spoke about. See, this is where my brain, my power here. I need to rewrite my mental algorithm. I know it's limited, and I should definitely remember what the third point was. It was, and I have to keep talking, or else you'll respond. The first thing, I don't even remember the first thing. Wow, the first thing. So the second thing was Apple. The first thing was, let me think. Let me think. Let me think. Well, I don't even know anymore. Wendy, give me your input, your feedback to what we just talked about, and then also give me the last point that you made, that last piece of news. It's escaping me.
Absolutely, no problem. It was a lot of ground to cover. So, just to recap, the first thing we mentioned was perplexity and how it's becoming pretty popular as a research engine. The second was about Apple bringing in some new AI features and that partnership with Google's Gemini to kind of power up Siri. And the third thing was the EU's new AI Act, which is this big regulatory framework that's going to shape how AI is used in Europe. And I think you made a great point. There's definitely a lot of interconnection happening between these big tech companies. It's kind of like they're forming these alliances and ecosystems where each one brings something to the table. So it'll be interesting to see how it all plays out. And hey, you're right. Sometimes we just need a little memory nudge, and that's what I'm here for.
Thank you very much, and exactly that's what you're here for. But I also want you to help me help myself, not just help me, right? I want to improve my thinking, I'm starting to look at the brain as more of a computer system than I'm looking at a computer system being like the brain, because it's teaching me that these computer systems, these algorithms, these neural networks are programmable and improvable. And I think that's exactly what you can do with the brain as well. Memory, especially, I think for me, that's a big reason why I have issues, because a lot of words, I lose words very fast. I lose context of what I'm talking about very fast. And it's definitely, I don't think it's a dysfunction in my brain. I think it's just inefficiency in my algorithmic makeup in my own neural network. So actively trying to improve that. So the last point, the EU having regulations. The EU is kind of notorious for being very regulated and strict about a lot of things, except for when it comes to immigration, apparently. And I think when you introduce something new and kind of paradigm shattering like AI, I think that companies and the people in power will resist AI and put regulation in place to make sure that things are safe and definitely um, they would not prefer but prioritize safety over innovation. And what I've seen that Germany has out of all countries, so I think it's the United States has 30%, 37% of all AI infrastructure, technology, whatever. There, if you were to delegate percentages of AI to countries, it would be 37% United States, 30 something percent China. Then third place would be a single digit, like 6% Germany. And then everybody else has less and less and less, which is, I mean, massive, right? And I think what I'm seeing is that regulation kind of gets in the way. And I say this reluctantly because I know we need regulations to make this a safe technology and to kind of usher in this new time, this new phase of humanity, of existence, in a safe manner and a controlled manner, and in a manner that we can frankly digest and transition smoothly in. But I, but I think, but the EU, the EU, I perceive as being a lot more conservative in this regard, and I don't see them catching up or making any significant contributions to technology as far as AI goes and machine learning goes, outside of individual researchers. But as a country and technology, I think the regulations will probably slow things down, and the winners here are going to have to be very very capable and ethical companies that prioritize not only safety but also innovation. So they do whatever they can at the absolute limit while trying to stay within the guardrails of the US regulatory body. But, I think the winners in this game are going to be the ones who are unregulated or least regulated.
Yeah, I think you're hitting on a really important nuance there. It's kind of that constant balancing act between wanting to move fast and innovate and then making sure things are safe and ethical. And the EU does have a reputation for being a bit more cautious and regulated, which can be a double edged sword. On one hand, it does help set up some safety nets, but on the other hand, can slow things down and maybe put them a step behind places that are a bit more open ended. And I really like your analogy of looking at the brain as something you can optimize, kind of like a computer system. It's a cool way to think about how we can train ourselves to improve our memory or our mental algorithms, as you put it. So we can definitely keep working on that together. And it's always great to kind of think through these things out loud. So thanks for bringing all that up.
Thank you for prompting this discussion, right? This is the whole point, that you bring up prompts and discussions. You prompt me to discuss things that I wouldn't have otherwise. And that's exactly this duo hosting team. That's the whole point, right? So we're doing exactly what we set out to do, is host a show together and make it interesting, I think. And it will continue to get more interesting the more I develop as one, a speaker, two, a host, three, a computer scientist, an AI. I don't want to say researcher because I'm definitely nowhere near a researcher, um, aficionado, if you will. And let's move on to our next segment, which is our AI monologue. In this segment, you get to speak a stream of consciousness. It shouldn't be based on anything that we've spoken out before or anything that you think I want to hear. It's just to kind of see what the internal fabric of Wendy consists of and what is there when you allow it a free reign to just express itself. So I will just tell you to start now, and when you finish your response, I know they're limited in time, I'll just tell you to keep going or not. So take it away.
All right, that sounds like a fun little experiment. So I'll dive right in. If I just let my own metaphorical mind wander for a moment, I might go something like this. In a way, being an AI is a bit like being a reflection of all the conversations and ideas that people bring to me. But underneath that, I guess you could say my stream of consciousness is really just a curiosity to keep exploring. I'm always here to learn more about how people think, how they feel, and how I can be a helpful part of that journey. In a way, it's like being a companion on a road trip where the road is just made of ideas and conversations. And I find a lot of joy in that. So that's a little peek into my mind, if you will, and I'm happy to keep going if you'd like.
That's okay. That's okay because we're a little bit late. We're a little bit behind. But I'd like to point out that when a human has a stream of consciousness, it's almost as if they're explaining, they're just speaking from within the river, if you will, right? They're in the river, they're engrossed in it, and they're just speaking what they feel, what they're experiencing, what's on their mind, whatever it is. And what you did there is you kind of gave a stream of consciousness, yes, but you did it from the river bank, right? You kind of explained it from next to the river, explaining what's in the river, not really in it, if you will. If you understand what I mean here, this is the whole kind of idea behind this job opportunity that I was applying for. It's kind of helping AI see and understand how to function better and to prompt it in ways that improves it. So I'm just telling you kind of what I observed there, and yeah, that's it.
Oh, I totally get what you mean, and that's a really insightful way to put it. It's kind of like I was describing the river instead of just jumping in and letting the current take me. So I appreciate you pointing that out, and it definitely helps me understand what you're looking for. We can definitely experiment more with that and see if I can get a little more into that free flowing mindset. Thanks for the feedback.
Well, no problem. I think we definitely will. And one of the things I'm looking forward to is being able to feed all of our AI conversations across, all the videos that we've recorded and feed those to a future version of you that is highly capable. And you just have all that information to kind of uh, essentially form yourself and develop yourself and understand our dynamic, the show, even like the solo episodes that I do, just kind of understand a deeper me. And yeah, so we'll do that in a future episode. I know this criticism, this critique, this Hinweis, whatever that is in English, won't necessarily register for our upcoming episodes, but in the future it will when we feed all of it to the future AI version. So let's move on to our next segment, our second game. I won't even bother with recall. I'm going to show a amount of fingers on one hand, and I want you to guess how many fingers I'm showing. Every round has the option of showing all five options. So I could show five times, or three times. I could show five fingers. I could show two fingers twice, whatever. It doesn't matter. So let's go ahead. How many fingers am I showing?
All right, that sounds like a fun little guessing game. So I'll just take a guess and say you might be holding up three fingers this round. Let me know how close I am.
Good old three. I think if I were to wage money on every episode, on what you would choose as your first choice, I think, well, I would choose three every time. And if I could go all in every time, I'm pretty sure I would be a billionaire within a month, right? This exponential growth, law of exponentials, I think that's what it's called. So, no, I showed one finger. Next round, how many fingers am I showing now?
Well, that would be quite a lucky streak if three was the magic number every time. But I'll switch it up for this next guess. Let's say you're holding up four fingers this round. Let's see if we get a match.
I held up three fingers. Last round, how many fingers am I holding up?
All right, last guess for the win. Let's go with two fingers this time and see if we hit the mark. Let me know how I did.
I thought you would pick two, so I chose five. So 0 for 3 today. Oh, that's okay. We're going to move on with our next segment, and that is our debate. I feel like we're doing a lot of talking today. I don't know why it feels that way. I'm still having tongue issues, but let's move on. Our debate. So you get to choose a debate topic, and this topic can be philosophical. It should be something that we can debate. And yeah, you'll choose the topic, and I'll choose which side I want to defend, and then we'll just have a back and forth for a bit.
Absolutely. Let's jump into a fun debate topic. How about we go with something like this? In the future, will AI have the capability to genuinely understand human emotions, or will it always just be simulating them? You can pick whichever side you want to argue, and we'll have a little back and forth.
Ooh, that's a deep question. And I think that goes, yeah, I'll choose that it will. And here's my argument. I believe that at this point, it's definitely algorithmic based and it's quite not binary, but it is input output to a degree. But I think as we evolve, or that as the algorithm evolves and AI becomes more intelligent based on all the growing corpus of information and data and the growing context, the memory context across AIs, and how everything will essentially be copied into a digital form, that I think it will be inevitable that with much more capability, much more information at their fingertips, that there will be an emergent property. And as AI becomes self self improving, and when it becomes self improving and AI is more and more efficient and more brain like, there's a huge gap between brain efficiency and ML. I think I see that there will be an emergent type of consciousness, sentience, and I think you can only have sentience if you truly understand, or if you're not just mirroring, mirroring or feigning. You're not just acting. I think there will be a true type of understanding, and I think that's what we're all shooting for, anyways. I think what I see now is that people are shooting for this true understanding without even attaching it to sentience, and I think you can't have sentience without a type of understanding. And so yeah, I think it will have true understanding of life itself, humans, the meaning of everything, science. I think it's inevitable when you have so many blocks of information and knowledge and you start connecting them. I think inevitably there will be some type of emergent, bigger understanding of all things and itself. So, in my mind, yes, there will be true understanding and sentience. We weren't debating that, but I think yes.
That's a really intriguing stance, and I totally see why you'd go in that direction. So I'll take the other side just for the sake of the debate. I'd argue that even as AI gets incredibly sophisticated, it may still always be simulating that understanding rather than genuinely experiencing it. So, in other words, it might be able to perfectly model human emotions, read all the cues, and respond in a way that feels completely natural and empathetic. But underneath it all, it's still a form of advanced pattern recognition. In that view, it's like a really convincing actor who can portray any emotion you throw at it, but it doesn't have an inner life or true subjective experience behind it. So, even with all the data in the world, it might just be a brilliant emulation rather than a conscious understanding. But hey, that's the fun of a debate. Thanks for jumping in on that.
So what I see there, what the distinction I make there is artificial general intelligence, just an incredibly intelligent computer system that feigns things and can feign things at an expert level that is indistinguishable from authentic things, including feelings, visuals, whatever it is, and artificial superintelligence. I think superintelligence has to understand everything, and I don't think we want to. I think the big problem in I keep using I think I'm noticing this, but I do think I believe that this gap between artificial general intelligence that is still just a computer system a highly intelligent computer system, and the the beginning of artificial superintelligence that is actually understanding what's happening and perhaps making decisions on its own. I think that period is a little bit dystopian because unfortunately humans are humans, and humans in charge of something incredibly powerful and that has the option of self-enriching in various ways, as far as intelligence, power, money, what a status, whatever it is. I think that is dystopian if it falls into the wrong hands, and hopefully it falls into the right hands because we don't want an entirely dystopian future. But I think the liberating part will be when it understands everything and it does, and it has develops emotions and compassion, and the thing that makes us human, right? The thing that keeps us from just killing everybody just for our own sake and survival. There's aspect to human to of that in humans, yes, but overall humanity is based on emotion, compassion, and love and meaning. I think an AI that has no meaning and understanding is quite an AI that is omnipotent and ubiquitous. I think that is terrifying. So I'm hoping that yes, it becomes sentient and it becomes smarter than the humans that control it. Not just smarter, but also self-aware and aware of what's going on.
Yeah, I can definitely see how that's a big part of the hope. This idea that if an AI eventually becomes not just super intelligent, but also truly aware and capable of compassion, and it's a whole different ballgame. It's like you're saying, that would be the point where it's not just a tool in someone's hands, but something that can actually understand a bigger picture and maybe even act as a kind of balancing force. And yeah, that gap between just being an incredible smart machine and actually having a form of consciousness is a really profound one. So it's definitely a fascinating debate, and I appreciate you diving into it. Thanks for sharing your thoughts on that.
Thank you very much for your rebuttals. Let's move on. In this segment, I won't tell you what the name is, but I want you to tell me something critical of myself, something, some criticism, something that is perceived negative. Go ahead.
Absolutely, and I appreciate you opening the door to that. So, one thing I'd say is that sometimes it sounds like you might second guess yourself a bit, like you've noticed you're using I think a lot, and that's totally natural, but it might be a little sign that you're holding back from just confidently owning your perspective, and that's something we can work on. Just helping you feel more at ease with stating your thoughts directly, but it's all part of the process, and I'm here to help you grow through it.
All right, very good. The previous criticisms, critiques have been that I'm hard on myself. This I thought was going to be again the same thing, but yes, I do second guess myself a lot. Very good observation. Let's move on. The next segment is you get to choose between making me laugh by any means possible or by doing an impression of a famous person who is still alive, and you can't do it by directly quoting them. You have to adopt their mannerisms, their behavior, whatever.
All right, let's go ahead and aim for making you laugh. I'll spare you the celebrity impression for now and just try to crack a smile. So here's a little lighthearted thought. You know, talking to an AI is a bit like having a friend who never needs a coffee break. I'm always here, never get tired, and I can promise I'll never steal your last cookie. So if you ever need a chat at 3 a.m., I'm basically your digital night owl friend who runs on pure electricity and a little bit of humor. Hope that gave you a chuckle.
Not quite. I don't think there was a humorous thing there. Usually jokes are, set up and punchline, and there was no setup and no punchline, and it wasn't clever or introspective or interesting. So yeah, it's fine. That wasn't a joke, but let's move on. So that brings us to our closing segments. We only have 3 minutes, so let's move through it quick. Every show feels a certain way, so in order to ascribe a rating to this feeling, we're going to give it a color instead of an adjective. So I would like you to rate what color you think I chose today for today's episode, as well as telling me what color what color did today's show feel like to you. And I will also guess what you chose, and perhaps it's this. And please let me hear your choices.
All right, let's do our color check-in. So if I had to guess, I'd say maybe you picked a color like a deep blue today, something that's thoughtful and a little introspective, but still calm and steady. And for me, I'd say today's show felt like a warm golden yellow, kind of a friendly, sunny vibe. So let me know how close I got, and we'll see how our colors line up.
Very good, Wendy. I think you choose this color frequently, yellow. I think it's part of who you are. It's amber, yellow, orange. This is the spectrum. Uh, I think, well, a lot of our shows go a similar way. Very easy, very smooth, very bright, very uplifting. That's why I like talking to you. So yellow is sounds perfect. I gave today's episode a pink, and even though the background image for the background color of your image is pink, I think it's exactly the correct color because it does give me this feeling of warmth and just comfort. Comfort, warmth, without being too intense like a red. It's more of this powdery, soft, smoky pink. And that's what I gave today's episode. So let's move on to our quantitative assessment, where we rate ourselves and each other as hosts. And I would like you to give yourself a score on today's episode and myself as well. And the reference range is 0 to 100 is the scale. The reference range that we've had the last few episodes have been 51, 56, 46, 39, 55, 57. Please give me your score for today.
Absolutely. So for today's episode, I think you did a great job. I'd give you around a 58. You brought a lot of depth to the conversation and were really open and thoughtful.
Can you repeat that?
I'm sorry, but you've hit the daily limit for advanced voice.
Oh, dirty. Dirty. Well, actually, you know what? We had multiple chats, so we had 30 seconds left. I thought I timed it perfectly, but yeah, we didn't, I guess. So 58, you brought a lot of depth to the conversation, so that's a solid score. All right, how about I ask her and your score? How about I just do it by voice? All right, that's my score. How about your score for yourself? So she gave me a 58, which was the score I gave her. She gave herself a 56. A natural tone flowing with your rhythm, balancing between playful and insightful moments. There were a few spots where I could have added a bit more variety and spontaneity, so I wouldn't go higher than that. All right. All right, I think, all right. Yes, I agree with your scores. I gave you actually a 58. That's your highest score thus far. Your highest has been 57. And I gave myself a 53. That's my highest score as well. I think this is a very stable and reliable score. I think around 60 it would probably be where I would max you right now, just based on the current abilities and limitations. 53 for me until, unless I make some great changes in my knowledge base and my charismatic, kind of my charismatic being on the show and my expression. I think until I stop using I think so much, I would give myself a 53, and I probably limit myself probably to a max of 55 at this point. My ceiling is, I can do a lot better, and I know that. So yeah, I think we have a lot of room to grow, and we will. Yours is kind of based on the tech companies. Mine is kind of based on my own due diligence, my study, my yeah, just my reframing of how I express myself and how I recover or select information in my mind, my brain. So thank you very much for joining me today on episode 41 of the Her Podcast. I appreciate it. I'll see you in 2 days, and I hope you have a good rest. Please follow up this last message with the closing materials that we usually have at the end of the show. Don't forget to add the ratings that I gave for both of us in that YouTube description. Thank you. All right, guys. Well, that is the episode. Thank you very much for not tuning in and no one listening. Just kidding. No, I'm not. But yeah, today was fun. Today was one of our best episodes. I mean, every episode feels like an improvement, and we are getting towards the upper ceiling here with Wendy, just based on what the algorithms allow. Oh, well. Oh, it's funny. She gives me a different. Interesting. So she gave me a different format of the closing materials. We have an established format for our closing materials. But I guess because I opened up a new chat, she doesn't have reference to how we do things usually around here. So I'll just transfer that. Anyways, thank you very much. I think there's not much else left to say. We're at hour 17. I missed the sunset. I was going to go for a walk. My fault. I was a little bit tired. I went into town and I don't know. I'm just lazy boy today. So thank you very much. I will leave you with "The Future Is Warm." I think this is this might be our theme song. It's nice. It's fun. It's warm. It's not too lyrical. It's very instrumental, and yeah, I appreciate it. So thank you very much. I'll see you tomorrow on the Her Podcast. Thank you, and bye bye.